environment safe and conducive for human habitation and ensure sustainable industrialization drive of our dear governor. Thank you so much for coming here, and God bless you.
Your Excellencies, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, those welcome remarks and speech have been presented there by the Honorable Commissioner in charge of the Ministry of Environment and Mineral Resources, Akwa Ibom State, Dr. Inyobong Isian. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for him one more time. Thank you very much. I know the weather is a bit cold, but I think we can give a better round of applause. Can we try that one more time, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you very much. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the issue of climate change has been on the front burner of global discourse for the better part of the 21st century. As a matter of fact, in the State of the Union address in the year 2015, United States President Barack Obama stated that no challenge poses a greater threat to future generations than climate change. It is therefore imperative that every single stakeholder, and that means every living thing on the face of the earth, takes these issues a little bit more seriously. On that note, may I invite to present the keynote address at this first Akwa Ibom State Climate Change and Clean Energy Summit, the Minister for Environment, Federal Republic of Nigeria, represented here very ably and very comfortably by the gentleman who today has also told us he happens to be a namesake of His Excellency the Governor. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm round of applause to the Honorable Minister of State for Environment, Alhaji Ibrahim Usman Jibril. Please put your hands together for him as he comes up here.
Thank you, Mr. MC. Your Excellency, the Governor of Akwa Ibom State, Mr. Udom Gabriel Emmanuel, my big brother, the Right Honorable Speaker of Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly, Representative Luke, the Secretary to the State Government, the Head of Service of Akwa Ibom State, distinguished professors on the high table and resource person, and permit me to single out an elder statesman here, Professor E.M. Isen, the Chair of the National Merit Award. And let me also take this liberty to break protocol and recognize the band because of their green plume, signifying a green environment. Members of Friends of the Environment who are partnering with the Ministry of Environment. My big brother, the Commissioner of Environment, Dr. Inyobong Isian, great people of Akwa Ibom State, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure for me to stand before you in this very important, what I call extraordinary summit, organized by the Akwa Ibom State government with the active support of the Governor of Akwa Ibom, Mr. Udom Gabriel Emmanuel. I want to use this opportunity to appreciate the invaluable contribution of Akwa Ibom State government in championing environmental sustainability issues and their eagerness in exploring economic empowerment through green business opportunities. The accumulation of greenhouse gases, GHG, in the atmosphere is growing faster than earlier predicted. Climate change is the greatest environmental challenge that we face, and the scientific consensus and growing political will to address the issue is gathering momentum towards changing the global context in which business operates. There is no doubt that Nigeria is not an exception. Every part of this country, from the southern coastal areas to the northern fringes, are faced with environmental challenges bordering on climate change. The coastal erosions, the rising sea level in the coastal areas of the southern part of Nigeria, the consistent and almost daily occurrence of flooding in the north central part, and the desert encroachment and the movement of the sand dunes that is moving at an alarming speed of 400 meters per annum in the northern fringes of this country are a cause for concern that can no longer be ignored. Scientists, economists, and policymakers recognize that holding the increase in the global average temperature to well below 2 degrees centigrade above pre-industrial levels and to pursue efforts to limit the temperature increase to 1.5 degrees centigrade above pre-industrial levels will significantly reduce the risk and impact of climate change. Conferences like these are no doubt significant because they help to sensitize and bring the forefront environmental challenges and climate change issues to our people, a lot of whom are not fully aware of the dire consequences of climate change. Ladies and gentlemen, let me use this avenue to point out that Nigeria's national determined contribution towards addressing climate change envisages reduction of emission by 20% below the business as usual by 2030 and will rise to 45% with support from international community. In other words, left on our own, we'll do whatever it takes within our resources to address this issue to the level of up to 20%. But to go beyond that, we need international organization to key into it, bearing in mind that most of the emissions that are global warming are not generated from our countries, particularly developing nations, not only Nigeria. So, to be able to attain the 45%, which is an ambitious level, we need the support of international organization. And I'm glad that here we have agencies of the United Nations like the World Bank Group, the UNIDO, they are all here with us. And with the array of resource persons gathered here by Akwa Ibom State, I believe we will come out of this conference with something reasonable for our people to know that we are really serious about climate issues. There is an ongoing activity toward the ratification of the INDCs for effective implementation. As a matter of fact, we've had an interministerial meeting to sensitize our colleagues in the cabinet to know about our determinations to combat climate change issues. We recently also had a gender initiative to take that to the level in such a way that every part of our NNDC is scrutinized before we go to the General Assembly in September, where we expect Mr. President to sign the Paris Accord. Green economy has been linked to sustainable development, and it tends to improve human well-being and social equity while significantly reducing risk and ecological scarcities. With supportive national policies and institutions in place, trade opportunities offered by a global green economy can enhance economic growth and contribute to national development and developmental objectives. That is why we are pleased that after the Paris conference, which Akwa Ibom was fully represented, there is a follow-up in form of this workshop that will iron out and bring out salient facts for us to act on. It has been observed that Nigeria is well positioned in the transition to a green economy, given her low emission profile and natural resource endowment. The green economy pathway among sectors, among others, includes renewable energy, low carbon transport, energy efficient buildings, clean technologies, improved water management, improved fresh water provision, sustainable agriculture, forestry and fisheries. These investments are drawn by or supported by national policy reforms and the development of international policy and market infrastructure. Without the support of state governments, the national policy may not make a meaningful impact. That is why we commend the Akwa Ibom State government for this bold initiative today. This transformation to a green economy will generate 15 to 60 million additional jobs globally over the next 2 decades and lift tens of millions of workers out of poverty. Energy supply from fossil fuels results in climate change, which need to be urgently addressed through adaptation and mitigation strategies. These strategies should be aligned with the transition to a green economy, and there is a need for paradigm shift and diversifying the economy towards sustainable, renewable resources. Agriculture is the largest employer globally with over 1 billion workers, including a large number of poor rural workers and subsistence farmers, notably women. Strong investment in skills, rural infrastructure, and organization to enable smallholder farmers to adopt greener and more productive farming practices could boost food security, lift tens of millions out of poverty, and prevent accelerated rural urban migration. It is on this note that I would like us to note the harmful effects of some of our bad land management practices. In 2004, when I came to Uyo, I noticed a terribly gully site, and to the glory of God, this morning when I was driving to see His Excellency, the Commissioner of Environment showed me that site that is on the way to recovery. We commend the Akwa Ibom State government for that. We are particularly impressed with that development because not only the civil engineering job that was done to channel the gullies, but other remedial actions like planting the trees, the grassing, and to the glory of God, the whole area was looking green this morning, and I was so happy about that. I hope and pray that my brother in the Environment Ministry will keep the flag flying high, and with the support of New Map, which we intend to partner, will move other sites to greater height. We've seen a report from the Ministry of Environment. We've seen the pictures of all these degraded areas, and Akwa Ibom being a state that is in this New Map program, I think we are on the way to addressing these issues once and for all. In Nigeria, sustainable agricultural production has long been recognized and promoted as a system that encourages trade opportunities and is linked to the creation of rural employment, income generation, food security, long-term environmental security. Nigeria is well placed to seize this trade opportunity because of our strong comparative advantage in green agricultural product due to sustainable climatic condition and rich biodiversities. Of course, Cross River, Akwa Ibom is not an exception because of the huge resources available. And I'm sure with what I've been seeing, the government is equal to the task. We will partner with them in this respect and ensure that the best and only the best is given to our people. In the energy sector, rapid employment growth in renewable energy, improvements in energy efficiency, and enhanced access to energy will lead to a major gain in employment and income opportunities, as well as significant environmental benefits. Energy has become a major concern to a lot of Nigerians. Energy security resulting from renewable energy such as wind, solar, and natural gas will serve as a catalyst for transforming the manufacturing and other key sectors of the Nigerian economy, making the greening of the energy sector imperative. The diversification of energy sources and the implementation of energy efficiency programs are crucial for ensuring green growth. Investment in renewable energy on a large scale, along with active support for local renewable technology, manufacturing presents an opportunity for sustainable economic development and has significant job creation potential. Transport is central to the functioning of modern economies and for development, but it has been the most rapidly growing source of greenhouse gas emissions. That's why we feel encouraged by the initiative recently launched by the Akwa Ibom state government on using gas for fueling mass transit. This is a laudable initiative, and if it is well managed, it can lead to an efficient public transport system in Akwa Ibom state and could be replicated in other parts of this country. So we give kudos to the governor for this initiative. Let us understand that an efficient public transport, particularly when you have efficient buses running around, will go a long way to reduce emissions. Because if you take a census of transport in most of our cities, it is normally me and my wife or me and my friend. The occupancy ratio of every car may not be more than 2, at most 3. So why do you have to take the car out when you can travel by bus that is efficient, is clean, is air conditioned, and it has all the comfort that you need? The chances are that if you have a 50-seater bus on the road, you will have removed about 20 or 30 cars out of the road, and that will significantly reduce the emission that these cars will have emitted, and therefore leads to more green environment. So we hope and pray that the government of Akwa Ibom will sustain this tempo on the initiative of this gas for transportation system. The transport sector has great potential to reduce its carbon footprint through cost-effective intervention, including shifting freight from road to rail, as well as passengers toward public transport, particularly bus rapid transit. Yesterday, the President flagged off the National Rail Service in Abuja, and we all members of the cabinet took a train ride from Edu station to Kuba, which is a satellite town out of Abuja, and from there the train moved to Kaduna. This is a significant milestone. For the elders like Professor Essen, this is nothing, because they have seen the good, the bad, and the ugly side. They know when the rail was working in the 60s and 70s. Even I, as young as I am, I know when we used to have the Nigerian Airways and the Indian Airways. The Indian Airways in the 80s, when the Indians came to manage the Nigerian Railways for us. So anytime I'm traveling from Kano with a friend, I will be asked, are you flying Nigerian Airways or Indian Airways? Once you say Indian Airways, they know you are using the train, because it will take you to your destination. So we can return to that, and since we have elders in our midst, they will always advise us. And when you have energetic governors like our big brother here, Mr. Udom, you know the sky is the limit. So I urge the people of Akwa Ibom to give him all the necessary support. In the last 1 year, it has been good. It could be better, but you have to give the necessary support. Green buildings and the built environment, public and commercial buildings are substantial consumers of energy and water. The activities inside such buildings generate large volumes of waste. Green building regulatory awareness and capacity building programs need to be developed and implemented, particularly at local level. Then there is the issue of recycling, which is a critical element for energy efficiency, avoidance of waste, safe treatment of hazardous waste and recovery of valuable materials. Just last week I was in Vienna and I was amazed at the incinerator at the city of Vienna, which is used in not only managing the waste in this generator in the city, but also used in generating power to power the houses and other industries. We can do that in this country if we are determined to. Again, if anybody has ever been to Israel, particularly Haifa, and has seen the treatment plant there, all the liquid waste from the city of Haifa and environs are channeled to that treatment plant. And what that treatment plant does is to first of all get the biogas and power the plant itself internally. Then the sluice materials is turned into fertilizer and sent to farms, and the water, after being cleaned, is sent to water company for irrigation. And remember, this is a country that is short of water, and they don't even have the privilege or luxury of doing anything with water anyhow. So this water is used through drip irrigation to get even your flowers in front of your houses watered, and you see them blooming in green. So if a country that is in deficit of water can do that through recycling, there is no reason why we that are having excess that is even leading to flood, that we cannot manage it. So I task the participants to do what it takes to bring out reasonable proposals that can be used to assist in mitigating climate change. Employment could be increased significantly by improving recycling rate, and there is major potential to improve social inclusion and reduce poverty through formalization, as the majority of waste pickers, notably women and children laborers, are concentrated in informal employment. We could regulate these and get them off the street and do the best that can be for our people. Energy and resource efficient buildings have the largest potential to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and resource use. Most of the buildings we have not been done in such a way that they are energy efficient. But we can start from somewhere. There are also significant opportunities for employment creation in new green buildings, and even more opportunities in retrofitting the large estate of older buildings. It is very common, even in cities, not even in rural areas, for you to wake up in the morning and all the security lights outside are still on. This is not the best way to use energy, knowing fully well that we are all complaining about the tariffs that are constantly on the increase. We could do better than that. A successful strategy hinges on skills deployment and on preparation and upgrading among the small and medium-sized enterprises which dominate the sector. Your Excellency, distinguished personalities, in view of the above, several mitigation adaptation measures can be advocated to reduce the impact of climate change in Akwa Ibom State as in Nigeria. Implementation of climate change activities need to be taken more seriously towards fulfilling our obligation to both the convention and the protocol and ameliorating climate change impact on the environment and especially on the populace. We cannot say anything other than commend the state government initiative in this respect. In recognition of the impact of climate change on our socio-economic development, as a developing country, government of Nigeria has stepped up its effort to position Nigeria to face the challenges of climate change and to also draw opportunities therein. Some of the actions taken include develop a national adaptation strategy and plan of action on climate change, national climate change policy, preparation of national communication document to the UNFCCC, Nigeria's intended nationally determined contribution, INDC, numerous other activities, including idea of a green bond to help Nigeria leverage resources through the stock market. Furthermore, activities are ongoing for effective mitigation strategies, technology transfer, research effort, awareness creation, and capacity building have long commenced in earnest. While certain environmental problems are direct effects of climate change, like when you have too much flooding, which in turn leads to soil degradation. But before the flooding comes and clear the topsoil, somebody somewhere must have done some harmful practices through slash and burn, through leaving the soil exposed. And once the rains come in torrential downpour, the soils are loose, it becomes easy, the carrying capacity because of the velocity becomes much higher, and the loose soils are washed away, gullies are created, properties and sometimes lives are lost. For a long time in this part of the country, particularly in the southeast and south, there has been a persistent problem of gully erosion. All efforts have been done and it's been done, but we still have this problem at the front burner because we look at the civil engineering aspect only and forget there's a biological thing that can be done. And like I said earlier on, when I passed by the gully site this morning and saw that apart from the civil engineering work, other biological things have been done, recovering the soil, putting back the grasses, putting back the trees, which will restore the tenacity of which this soil can resist being eroded. It is a man-made problem, and therefore man is in a good position to solve the problem he has created. And we at the Federal Ministry of Environment are at the process of repositioning the new MAP program, and I'm glad the lead person is here, Dr. Amos Ademu, and Akwa Ibom is one of the 19 candidate states that is participating in this program. We assure you, and we assure the Governor, His Excellency, that we will partner effectively, collaborate efficiently to ensure that past errors are eliminated and the best practice is adopted to counter this menace of soil erosion and land degradation. We hope and pray that there will be active collaboration with the Ministry of Environment in Uyo, and we invite Akwa Ibom officially and formally to the National Council on Environment that is coming up from the 15th to the 19th of August 2016 in Lafayette, Nasarawa State, during which I believe key environmental issues and climate change issues will be discussed. We do hope that the Governor, in his usual kind approach to environmental issues, will give the Commissioner the go-ahead to start earnest preparation, and we expect to get a significant contribution by way of ideas arising from this conference to be forwarded to the Council for further consideration. Finally, the need for closer collaboration with all stakeholders. We're not talking of the state government alone, we're not talking of the industries, we're talking about NGOs like Friends of the Environment here and many others that take environment very seriously, that know that there will be consequences to future generations if climate issues are not taken at appropriate time, to join hands with us and together create a healthy environment with beautiful climate that will attract tourists into this part of the country to come and enjoy the hospitality of our people, to enjoy the afan soup here and tell the stories to others to come. On this note, as we deliberate on this, I wish to assure you of the cooperation of our ministry on the outcome of this gathering. I wish you all a fruitful deliberation, and let me thank again my big brother, the Executive Governor of Akwa Ibom State, Mr. Emmanuel Gabriel Udom. Ne dakanda Akwa Ibom Dakada. Thank you for attention.
Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I think we can afford to say that the Honorable Minister of State, Adakada. Please put your hands together for Alhaji Ibrahim Usman Jibril for that keynote address presentation. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this is the opening ceremony, and there are going to be quite a number of sessions at the end of the opening ceremony. There will be technical presentations today, tomorrow, and the day after, as issues that have got to do with the environment and us who are inhabitants of the environment would be taking front burner, even as we do not forget that the environment doesn't necessarily need us as much as we need the environment. We are going to take a special address and also two very brief goodwill messages. We want to please appeal to those who are making this presentation to kindly stick to the very few minutes that they have been allotted each, so that we can accommodate much more items on the program, which will come after the opening ceremony. Let me, on that note, invite to present the special address a representative of the World Bank Group, himself the representative of the country director. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a senior environmental specialist at the World Bank Group, Dr. Amos Abu. Please put your hands together for him as he comes to this microphone. Thank you.
Thank you. Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Akwa Ibom State, Mr. Udon Gabriel Emmanuel, members of the State Executive Council, members of the National Assembly here present, our very able and dynamic Minister of Environment, ably represented by my friend and brother, Alhaji Ibrahim Usman Jibril, friends of the environment, development partners, distinguished scholars, members of the Fourth Estate of the Realm, ladies and gentlemen, let me stand on the well-established protocol to first express the regrets of the country director of the World Bank Group for his inability to be here with us in person. But Dr. Rashid Benassoud has assured that at the shortest possible time, he will be visiting this state because he has heard a lot of good things concerning this state. As you definitely know, the World Bank Group, we have two twin objectives that align beautifully with the vision of the governor of this state, namely the elimination of extreme poverty, at the same time boosting shared prosperity. This is really very, very important so that we do it in an environmentally friendly and sustainable manner. Today, we have an unprecedented political commitment to tackle the challenges of climate change while providing clean energy for the country and the world at large. What we need to do now is to build unprecedented political action to fulfill these promises. We cannot afford to lose the momentum, especially that emanated from the Paris COP. It is no longer news that climate change is real and is here with us. It is clear that climate change is playing a huge role in the worsening situation of life and livability, and therefore we need to do something very, very urgent. At the World Bank, what are we doing? I would like to go globally, but let me try to situate it within the context of Nigeria. There are several initiatives, several projects in the energy sector, in the agriculture sector, in the water sector. But let me again try to home in on what we are doing in the ministry and with the Ministry of Environment with special focus on climate change. Particularly important is the Forest Carbon Partnership Facility which is a grant to support the response to the RED initiative. But even more important, in terms of its sheer size, complexity, and ability to deliver results, is of course the Nigeria Erosion and Watershed Management Project, aka NEWMAP. I will still speak to that in closing. But for now, component 3 of this innovative project, by the way, because it is the World Bank, I will crave the permission of His Excellency to speak in dollars. The Nigeria Erosion and Watershed Management Project is to the sum of $658 million. Honorable Minister just hinted that actually, due to the dynamism, the zeal, and the indefatigable nature of His Excellency, that the state has been phased into this innovative project. The component 3 of this project has $30 million to support Nigeria climate change response, which also includes Akwa Ibom State climate change response, including this initiative on green growth and sustainable energy. Several activities are already underway that are being implemented in this project. I would not want to recount all of them, but I would just really want to draw your attention to what we are doing in trying to create an enabling framework for the development of renewable energy. And already, the studies are already underway for the utility scale grid connection solar panel plant that will determine the grid connection, especially for off-grid communities. Now, this study is very, very important because a lot have been said, and we are still going to hear more during this meeting. But for an investor, what does it take to make a decision to invest in green growth economy, in sustainable energy, and so forth? So this study will bring out the hard facts, the data, the information that will really underpin such a decision. Now, what will it take for us to chart a sustainable roadmap for renewable energy, green growth, green jobs in this country, and in particular in Akwa Ibom State? We need to act now because we cannot wait for tomorrow because the situation is urgent. We need to act together because we have so many stakeholders. But most importantly, we need to act differently. It cannot be business as usual. We need to use the opportunity of the climate change as well as the technology transfer and awareness to do things differently, to bring in development, growth, as well as creating jobs for our people. Yes, it is official that Akwa Ibom State has been admitted into the Nigeria Erosion and Watershed Management Project in the amount of $658 million. This is particularly significant because the Honorable Minister will always call me, Dr. Abu, you say you are my friend. When are you going to admit Akwa Ibom State to the NEWMAP? And he has been relentless. But today, Honorable Minister, I know why you have been on me and on the bank for the admission of Akwa Ibom State. Because you disclosed that the governor is your brother. Now, I will also use the opportunity of being in the state to visit some of the erosion sites. We've seen the very disturbing situation. Actually, I have the album that was prepared by the state. Again, that speaks to creativity and proactivity. It is right on top of my table. So I will use the opportunity of my being here, Your Excellency, and with your permission to visit some of the sites. In closing, I'm also happy to announce that the initial sum of $2 million is going to, let me not speak in futurity terms. The initial takeoff sum of $2 million is available for Akwa Ibom State. Why are we so happy to partner with the state? As you know, the World Bank, it is not in every state, nor even in every country that would like to work. For us to agree to partner with you, it means that you are focused on development, you are transparent, you are open, you are accountable, you are visionary. And all of this we've seen in your very dynamic governor. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the representative of the country director of the World Bank Group, Dr. Amos Abude, presenting that very special address, the address that got the biggest applause so far for very obvious reasons. Your Excellency, when he said that he wants to speak in dollars, I was hoping he would end the speech by announcing that some dollars is available, and he actually ended it that way. We just hope that the online media and local newspapers would not add the money to the allocation due to the state for the month of July. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together one more time for Dr. Amos Abu, the representative of the World Bank Group. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, just one more goodwill message, and then we'll take another one from the legislature of Akwa Ibom very, very briefly. And this will be presented by a gentleman who is representing the President of the African Development Bank, who, I think by all standards, every single stakeholder in the agricultural sector agrees that in his tour of duty as Minister of Agriculture, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina actually was one of the very best that this country has produced. Little wonder he ascended to that position as President of the African Development Bank, and is here represented by a very distinguished professor who works for that organization, son of the soil. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Professor Anthony Young, representative of the African Development Bank, as he comes here to speak. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Akwa Ibom State. I wish there was something we could add more than just Executive Governor, because this is, can we say distinguished Executive Governor of Akwa Ibom State? The Honorable Minister of Environment, represented by the Minister of State, Alhaji Ibrahim Jibril, distinguished members of the State Exco, every distinguished ladies and gentlemen here, all protocols observed. I don't really have much time. I want to go into the business of what brought us here. I want to start by expressing the regrets of Dr. Adesina for his inability to be here. But he has asked me to represent him and to convey his strong support to this excellent initiative by a very forward-looking state led by a very visionary governor. And so please allow me to extend that to you. And let me also note that he has asked me to convey his sincere expectations that this forum will create a platform that will position Akwa Ibom State as a global leader on climate change and green economy. And he's asked me to tell you that he wants to go with you all the way on this, that you have the support of the African Development Bank as you transition as planned. So, last year was a very defining year for us, for global citizens, with the approval of the Sustainable Development Goals and the adoption of the Paris Agreement. The Paris Agreement has sent a signal to all relevant actors globally including business and investors, that the transformation that the world needs begins now. And let me also stress that this Paris Agreement cannot succeed without Africa succeeding in building resilience and seizing the opportunities to chart a cleaner developmental pathway. I'm very happy and pleased to know that the executive governor of Akwa Ibom State is already thinking in this direction. Africa, we all know, and we're all Africans, has been shortchanged by climate change. Now we have been shortchanged again by climate finance. When you look at the statistics of all the global resources available for climate change, the entire continent has only been able to access 4%. This is utterly unacceptable. That those who bear the brunt of the problems are those who don't have access to the resources. Things have to change. In 2009, the developed community came together and said they will give us $100 billion, all developing countries, per annum, $100 billion to deal with our climate change issues. This is grossly inadequate, but even then, through creative accounting, is being shown that such money is already being, allocated somewhere. And it is not surprising that the Paris Agreement did not really make mention of this $100 billion. Africa cannot afford to be left behind, and we cannot continue to wait for developing countries or developed countries to tell us how to run our development. So consequently, the African Development Bank has decided that we will continue to work with African countries, including Nigeria, to see how we can mobilize innovative finances to support our development. We will expand our investments in the climate smart economic sector that will lead to Africa's transformation. In the country, we're financing across all sectors of development. However, let me note, Akwa Ibom State has not significantly benefited from these resources. And I know that there are opportunities for us to key into this. There's money out there, even for climate change, green growth. The African Development Bank is committed to helping every African nation, including Nigeria and the subnationals, to access these funds. We have established a dedicated fund that will allow us to change the story of this 4% by keeping money aside to help African entities to access global funds, including entities that will be set up here by the Akwa Ibom State government. We are tired of potentials. Everywhere we go, we're told Nigeria has potentials, Africa has potentials, Akwa Ibom State has potentials. Potentials have never created jobs. Potentials have never transformed economies. We are keen on harnessing those potentials and creating wealth on this continent and creating decent jobs on this continent. And that is why at the African Development Bank we've embarked on what we call war against energy insecurity. Our president, as you've said, is a no-nonsense person. He came in, he gave us a mandate. In 10 years, I want Africa to be completely lit up. I want Africa to be completely powered. We want to have clean cooking solutions. Every year we have about 600,000 women and children dying from indoor air pollution, just trying to cook decent meals for their families. Even though we have 16% of the world's population, 53% of those who don't have electricity are in this continent. That is unacceptable. So we have a 10-year plan to make sure that we work with everybody that energy insecurity will be a thing of the past. And I'm glad that Akwa Ibom State is already working in this direction. We are here to partner with you. We are here to support you, not only on energy. We have what we call the high fives, which our president came up with, the 5 priority areas for the bank. The first is light up and power Africa. In 10 years, Africa will be lit and will be powered with modern electricity and energy. The second is Feed Africa. It is a shame that we spend $34 billion every year importing food, rice, when we have all the fertile lands. And we're saying no. No more are we going to do that. We're going to transform agriculture on this continent. The third is integrate Africa. If we can integrate Africa, it's easier when you travel around. It's easier for you to travel in Europe with a Nigerian passport than to travel within Africa. This is unacceptable. So we want to make sure that we integrate Africa. When we integrate Africa, we open up markets and we grow our economies. The fourth is industrialize Africa. And this will be directly speaking to the actions of the governor. We do not add value to our products. We will industrialize this nation in 10 years. And finally, is to improve the quality of lives of every African. And Mr. Governor, I'm sure we'll learn a thing or two from you. We need to improve the lives of Africans. At the bottom of the Mediterranean Sea, as I speak, lies the bodies of at least 3,500 Africans struggling to cross the Mediterranean to go somewhere else to earn a living. And we're saying this is not acceptable. Even insects live from darkness to go to where there's light. So we do not blame these people for trying to go to where there's light. We want to bring that light to Africa. But what does it take? Investors will need to come in here. We're working with investors. And investors have told us they do not go to where resources exist. They go to where the right policies exist. The right enabling environments exist. Sir, we are going to work with you. We're going to work with the federal government of Nigeria to make sure that we create the right environment that will attract investors into agriculture, into energy, into every aspect of development. Finally, let me say that what have we done? Between 2011 and 2015, the bank spent $12 billion on climate change related initiatives. And that is just a fraction of what we need. Going forward, in the next 5 years, we're going to progressively increase that we'll be spending by 2020 $5 billion every year on climate-related initiatives. The states can take advantage of these resources. For energy, we are putting on the table $12 billion between now and 2020, and then use that money to leverage in another $45 billion to make sure that we do what we say we want to do. There are opportunities, ladies and gentlemen, and let us be creative. Let us think how we, as individuals, entrepreneurs, could take advantage of the resources that we are doing. So finally, the African Development Bank is here to partner with you, with the government of Akwa Ibom State, and support you all the way. We look forward to working with the government of Akwa Ibom State and other partners to implement the outcomes of this expo and to support the transformation agenda of our ably, well-visioned executive governor of Akwa Ibom State. Thank you very much.
Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, that gentleman who just spoke is the Manager, Compliance and Safeguards Division of the African Development Bank, with over 25 years of experience working as a researcher and also as one of the people who actually are the eggheads running this particular division of the African Development Bank, speaking, standing in literally for the President of the African Development Bank. Well, as he spoke, we heard what came from the World Bank. We also heard what will hopefully, not as a potential, but as reality, come from the African Development Bank. Please put your hands together for him one more time, Professor Anthony Young. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you again that after this opening ceremony, the technical session will commence, and we hope that all of the people here will be sitting back for the technical session. Let me invite, for the very last of these goodwill messages, for want of time, the head of the legislature in Akwa Ibom State, the very erudite speaker of the Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the Right Honorable Barrister Onofiok Luke as he comes up here this week. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Akwa Ibom State, the man the legislature has given the captain ban of Team Akwa Ibom. The Honorable Minister, State for Environment, the Deputy Speaker, ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellency, I was thinking that when I'm going to be here, by the time I leave this summit and I go home, I'm probably perceive the aroma of afang soup or ekbang kuko. I will tell my wife that there's a climate change in this house. But I can't go and tell her now because graciously she's here as one of the participants. So I won't go and tell her there's climate change when I hear the aroma of food. Your Excellency, let me appreciate God Almighty who has made it possible for us to gather here as a people in this summit. And let me appreciate Your Excellency for hosting this summit and all those who have been here. Now, as a legislature, 26 of us, spiritually and physically, we are committed to the support of the sustainable agenda of your government, of which environmental sustainability is part of. And I say this standing on the premise that you have taken steps and effort to be able to check the negative effect of climate change. Your Excellency, specifically, let me use this opportunity to appreciate you and appreciate government in effort in trying to check flooding in Akwa Ibom State, starting from the state capital, Uyo in particular. Your Excellency, people might not notice the work that is going on between Tropicana to check the flood in Tulen. I want to use this opportunity to ask Akwa Ibom people to take a look at that site, because very soon that problem is going to be a foregone conclusion. And we have an attitude of forgetting a problem immediately it is solved. We don't know that such problem had existed before now. So I want you to take a look at there and then probably appreciate government effort in trying to check the negative effect of climate change. And we say this satisfied because the budgetary provision that we have made in the appropriation law of 2016, that you as the head of the executive has implemented it to the letter to the benefit of Akwa Ibom people. And let me use the opportunity to urge Akwa Ibom people that other areas, as long as the money is available and we would appropriate for the state government to check the flood in IBB, just a matter of time, that would be a thing of the past. Your Excellency, again, we are committed to giving legislative backing to the policy outcome of this summit as a legislature. We make this commitment knowing too well that this summit is going to come out with ideas and outcomes that is going to create green jobs and then make for green economy. So we will do all within our powers, and then we are urging on the State Executive Council immediately when this is done, when this summit might have been done with, let the State Executive Council send us more laws to strengthen environmental protection in Akwa Ibom State. And we will do this as a legislature. Your Excellency, may we use this opportunity to draw the attention of federal government to an issue which we have tried to legislate on, but at a point we are being challenged because that particular item is in this what we call the exclusive legislative list, and we don't have the legislative competence as a state legislature to enact. Most of the challenges we have environmentally in this state are man-made, just like the Honorable Minister has said. And number one is because of the activities of sand mining through dredging activities. Number two is because of excavation for borrow pit by construction companies. And when you go to challenge and try to regulate that sector or those activities, they will say, oh, we have a mining license from the federal government. So I'm using this opportunity as we proceed to continue on constitutional amendment. Let the federal government find a way, the national legislature find a way to give us that item, regulation of our inland waterways, to be in a concurrent legislative list where we can share legislative competence with the National Assembly. Having said this, let me pledge the commitment of the legislature in continuous support to the government effort in making sure that our environment is protected. I wish you a fruitful deliberation and ask God to give you success in this summit in Jesus' mighty name. Thank you and God bless.
Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in the simplest form, the word speaker connotes somebody who can speak. Listening to that gentleman, I'm sure you will agree with me that he can speak. Please put your hands together one more time for the Speaker of the Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly, the Right Honorable Barrister Onofiok. Thank you very, very much. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the issues that are being talked about in this summit concern each and every one of us. It might interest us to know that we are the first generation to feel the impacts of climate change. We also are the last generation that are in a position to do something about it. And so each and every one of us should take this very seriously. And so after now, there will be lectures and presentations from experts in different fields, from different organizations. A representative of the Nigerian Economic Society, Environmental Society is here. Representative of UNIDO. We have some very distinguished academics, a former Vice Chancellor of the Obafemi Awolowo University. We have here a gentleman who has been a recipient of over 25 international awards in science, including the Nigerian National Order of Merit Award in Science and Technology. A former chair of the United States Environment Protection Agency, Professor Hilary Yang, who will be the very first of the resource persons that will be speaking after now, amidst several other people who are experts in these issues. And so we urge you, please, at the end of the opening ceremony, you don't need to rush out. Sit back and you could learn a thing or two. Do not forget, the environment doesn't need you. You need the environment. On that note, may I at this juncture invite, most respectfully, a gentleman who is articulating leadership in a way that only a professional can. Not a professional politician, but a professional in politics, who is leading Akwa Ibom State in very many ways and asking us to rise to the feet of our greatness. Ladies and gentlemen, the Chief Executive of this state. Just before then, we hear that there is going to be a vote of thanks at this opening ceremony. So let me invite Secretary to the Akwa Ibom State Government, Sir Etekamba Omoren, to please accept to step up here and present a brief vote of thanks. Please put your hands together for him as he comes up here.
Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Akwa Ibom State, Mr. Udom Emmanuel, the Honorable Minister of the Environment, who is ably represented here by the Honorable Minister of State for Environment, the Honorable Speaker of Akwa Ibom State, and his dear wife, who I'm sure we still let him have the Afangsu when he gets to the house. The Deputy Speaker of Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly, the Honorable Minister of State. That shows that Akwa Ibom State is gender friendly. All the ESCO members of Akwa Ibom State, and particularly the Honorable Commissioner for Environment and his dear wife, who has brought us here, the head of civil service, the representative of the president of ADB, African Development Bank, Professor Anthony Inyong, my brother and my friend. Good to see you. I've not seen you in the last 15 to 20 years. I'm happy that you are here today. The representative of the World Bank, who has made available to Akwa Ibom State the sum of $2 million, and which incidentally has already been announced online. So it is good that the MC had warned that they should not be added to your Akwa Ibom State allocation. My dear professors from various institutions here present, our dear sponsors, I can see the representative of the ExxonMobil, ably represented here, my dear students, ladies and gentlemen, my assignment here is to say thank you. So on this note, I say, Your Excellency, I wish to start by thanking the Almighty God who has made this day possible for each and every one of us to assemble here. Your Excellency, I thank him because this morning when I woke up, I heard some noise outside and I flipped the curtain open and it was raining heavily, showing that there was climate change. And I was about going back to bed and I remembered that we had a courtesy call. And by his grace, I had to speedily leave the house to meet the courtesy call. So I thank him for that and also making this day possible. Your Excellency, I want to thank you. Several persons have been out here. They've described you in so many ways. Your Excellency, they are all right. Because if you were not forward-looking, if you were not focused, if you were not a leader who loves your people, you would not have approved for us to host this summit. So I say, Your Excellency, thank you very much. The Honorable Minister of Environment, here ably represented by our brother, thank God, is a brother to our governor. Incidentally, he is Jibril, and he has made us to realize that our governor, who is Gabriel, that is the equivalent of Jibril. So now you can see the connection. So I want to thank the Honorable Minister for leaving Abuja and coming here. We have invited him and we have just said, well, call me the Director in charge of Environment. Please represent me there. So for the Honorable Minister to have left Abuja to be here shows the importance the ministry attaches to the subject matter of today. So I said, the Honorable Minister, thank you very much. To our speaker, I want to thank you for all your efforts in the support of the state government. I want to also thank you for not attending this function by yourself, but attending this function with the entire house. That shows that the house is solidly behind His Excellency. I say thank you very much. My dear students, I want to thank you all for attending this summit. You had opportunities I never had. Some years back, my daughter came back from school and said, Daddy, today we taught about climate change, global warming. And I said, well, when I went to school, we were made to understand that the higher you go, the cooler it becomes. And so, Your Excellency, I hope at the end of this summit, we will reverse to the normal thing that I used to know, that the higher you go, the cooler it becomes. Your Excellency, let me not take too much of your time, because I know we have another function to attend. So, ladies and gentlemen, I say please thank you for attending this summit, and as you all go home, I ask the Almighty God to lead each and every one of you safely to your destination. Thank you very much.
Secretary to the Akwa Ibom State Government, Sir Itakamba Humoren. Thank you very much, sir. On that note, we've come to that point where this summit is about to be declared open officially by the number one citizen of Akwa Ibom State, this focused, driven, and result-oriented gentleman who sits atop the administration of this state. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, may I most respectfully invite to please make his remarks at this occasion and also declare this summit open His Excellency, the Governor of Akwa Ibom State, Mr. Udom Emmanuel. Please put your hands together for him as he comes up the stage.
Shall we be seated? Thank you, the women. Thank you. I can see the women shining. The climate is changing at the back there. The Honorable Minister for Environment, ably represented by my brother, Jubril and Gabriel. The Honorable Minister for State, the Minister of Environment, Alhaji Ibrahim Usman Gabriel. The Speaker of the Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly and his dear wife, the Deputy Speaker, and honorable members of the Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly and their spouses. I saw a member representing Ibiono to federal constituency. I don't know whether he has left. Dr. Henry, thank you. Members of the National Assembly, the SSG Head of Civil Service, representative of the World Bank. Today also I've adopted you as a brother, because if you partner with us in progress, it means we are of like minds. Representing Country Director Dr. Amos Abu, the representative of the ADB President. When you were speaking, a lot of people didn't know you're from Uran, so let me leak the secret art. Professor Tony Young, as the name implies. Young, if you check the Akwa Ibom State, Young is more tilted towards Mbia, is it Mbiaya? And I think he was one time executive chairman of Uran local government area. But now professor with ADB, representing the president of African Development Bank. We have VCs of the National University of Jamaica, Professor Hilary Young has also joined us. Honorable commissioners, permanent secretaries, all representatives of all universities across the globe, distinguished members of the academia that are here, resource persons, participants, chairmen of local government transition committees that are here present. I've seen quite a number. Service commanders, resource persons, the students, the women of Akwa Ibom State, the staff and management of Ministry of Environment. You guys have done well. And it's reflected in the leadership under the Honorable Commissioner for Environment. The participants, gentlemen of the press, here I've seen people across. My brother Eric, I've seen you. I've seen CNBC. I've seen people, Forbes and the rest of them, most of the international reporters, NTA, channels, STV, AKBC, AIT. If there's anyone I've not mentioned, not that I don't love you, so don't go and report me wrongly. I love all of you. Gentlemen of the press, let me stop there so that I don't put myself into trouble. Online reporting. How I wish the money you report is what I get. I call Rivers State Governor. I said, they say you collected 25 billion naira. Can I come for you so that I can get something from you and add to what I have? He said, but they say you got 17 billion. I said, my own, they added one in front. Your own, I don't know what they added in front for you. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the good people of Akwa Ibom State, I welcome you to this, I call it exceedingly important event. The first ever Akwa Ibom State Climate Change and Clean Energy Summit, holding in this serene and beautiful city of Uyo. I know people will be wondering. Yesterday I spoke to a renowned Nigerian. He said, of all the problems you have, the governor, is it the environment that is your problem? I said, well, you know, once you're making so much money, you won't know what people in this area are going through. That I'm one state with the longest coastal line. And if you're talking about climate change, it should start with me. And that's why we're also starting. I also told him that gone are the days when the whole world is moving. We think it doesn't concern Nigeria. That in the new dispensation of the present crop of governors of this country, as the world is moving, we'll move with the world, so that the world will never leave us behind. So I want to commend the Ministry of Environment for organizing this event and for gathering together under one roof such an electric range of academics and other world-renowned technocrats whose voices and opinion resonate powerfully within this field. In fact, after listening to World Bank and ADB speak, I just wanted to come here and tell them thank you and then I walk away. But on a day like this, you could see people who ask, what did the governor say? I also want to say something here. Exposure is key. You can never have a vision on something you've never actually had an idea of. And quite a lesson to learn. We sent the Honorable Commissioner to go and, rub minds during the Paris meeting. He came back so excited about the environment. I said, this is what I wanted. Because as a leader, you should be able to create that environment where you excite your people towards doing something they thought a conventional wisdom could not give them. And that's exactly what I've seen. And I wish there are such opportunities much more. He came back, he said, oh, the theme of our summit will be charting a roadmap for sustainable development and creation of green jobs. But I learned something, which is also what I learned, and I really love when we recited the Dakada Creed, that we must rise beyond what others say, both human. The speaker reported the commissioners to me the other time that they were reading the creed from the book. I said, no, all commissioners know it by heart, including the governor. So as most of you are aware, honestly, climate change is one of the most complex issues of our time. It has elicited the most ideologically contentious discourse and analysis across the political spectrum within the hallowed halls of most matured or developed democracies. To some pundits, especially those on the conservative ideological spectrum, climate change to them is a hoax, a liberal subterfuge that is aimed at slowing down the advance of capitalism and the accompanying laissez-faire mantra. To the liberals, it is an existential issue, one that can be wished away or get bogged down by ideological bromades or platitudes. But we, in Akwa Ibom, we must conserve our resources today for the future, or lose today and subject our children to an uncertain future. The liberals maintain this. I want to cast our minds back. I just called the technical committee on agri. I said, look, we can leave our roads bare, else our children in future will not even have something to tell. There are some fruit trees some of us were used to see in those days. These days, with due permission from the minister, I might not understand this. I don't know how they call it in English, but here we call it Ndiya. Do you know so many children today will live and they will never see what is called Ndiya? It is one of the very nutritional fruit trees that we have in this world. So I called the chairman, technical committee on agri. I gave him first assignment. I say from Oron Junction, where you have the beginning of East-West Road, up to Ete Junction, veering off into Port Harcourt, both sides of the road, I want to see different kinds of fruit trees adorn that road in order to conserve our environment. And these, we want to use school children so that they can start to appreciate it. Same thing within the Uyo metropolis, from Uyo town to Ikorekbene to our back, both sides of the road. I want to see different trees in order to actually maintain the environment that we are actually talking about. And these, I really want the children to be aware that some of these we really need to do and do it now. When my brother from ADB was speaking about energy and power, I don't know, that's why they keep telling you that the spirit is one. Today, I'm one of those that believe I can't be sitting on gas the way I'm sitting, and my people will be in darkness. They just had a conference of power in Nigeria, but you know, they say in a country of a blind, an eyed man is a king. Surprisingly, though I know it, my ISCO members know it, Akwa Ibom was marked as one of the states with the highest in terms of number of hours of electricity in this country. And it's not by accident. It's through deliberate and consistent effort that we are doing. As I'm living here now, I have a turbine. I'm generating 35 megawatts. I cannot evacuate it because I don't have a transmission line. I don't have control over transmission. So what I'm doing is to look for a kind of captive power. I want to use 4 local government areas as a test case. I drop a specific transformer, work with the Transmission Company of Nigeria, and see within the next few months, by the time we complete that, whether as far as there is gas that pass through that line, whether those 4 local government areas cannot have light 24/7. So in case we go outside this country and they say Nigeria, there is no place in this country that there is light 24/7, I say also I have areas. After all, if you put those 4 local government areas together, it's bigger than so many of these countries that we have in the world. So that part of the country, there will be light 24/7. Because I just look at it, else I will just be spending money generating 35 kVA, which I cannot do anything about. So we are actually also working on that and see how can we actually provide this so that it can also ease a whole lot. So the bulk of what you've said that you're doing at ADB is actually in line with also our thought process. And I'm sure we should be able to work together. And I appreciate the partnership. This issue of climate change has also illuminated the political current in highly industrial northern hemisphere and a scant interest in the largely developing economies of the southern hemisphere, very scant in nature. It is thus highly qualifying that our dear state is hosting this summit. In the process, help start a conversation on this key issue. We just want to start that conversation. I said so at the ESCO chamber, that first of all, one thing that matters in a situation like this is to create the awareness. Once we start the awareness, people will key into it. So we believe that climate change to us is real, and we must tackle it headlong right now. Akwa Ibom is, as I said earlier, as a coastal state, is very vulnerable to the negative impacts of climate change. People should know that. In fact, climate change is already affecting various sectors of the state economy, with serious biophysical and socioeconomic consequences right now in the state. Many coastal and riverine communities in the state are already relocated due to the rise in the sea level, leading to excessive flooding, while others have been submerged. I'm sure in the past few years, we've heard, for the first time, I think 2 or 3 years ago, we had to set up a special committee to raise funds to tackle people, in terms of flood. Nobody had actually bothered. How come over several thousands of years it wasn't like that? Why is it now? What has changed? I think we also need to move in line with the changes that the nature is creating. The government recognizes that unless a good response strategy is developed and judiciously implemented, climate change may negate some of our developmental efforts. We're already seeing that. If you get into independent hall right now in Abak, it's totally under serious danger. So far, the efforts to protect, preserve, and prepare our environment for the expected industrial revolution has been fairly successful. This is made possible through the successful implementation of various environment-friendly policies in the state. For instance, the reintroduction of the monthly sanitation and proper waste management system. The state has recorded remarkable improvements in environmental sanitation. At times when I drive even through, in those days when we were young, we used to have special people who were in charge of clearing, local roads. And since you don't have them today, you must look for another ingenious means to get people out to actually also get that done. It helps a lot to protect our environment. Let me inform you that in responding to the challenges of climate change, the state has proactively put in place measures aimed at tackling the adverse effects of this climate change. To coordinate these activities in the state government has set up a multi-sectoral technical committee on climate change. Government has also upgraded the climate change unit in the Ministry of Environment and Mineral Resources to full-fledged divisional and recruited professionals to man and run that division. Furthermore, the current review of the state's environmental management law has a section on climate change mitigation. This, as I said, is the starting point, and we must have that at the back of our mind. The core objective of this summit is to address issues that will support Akwa Ibom State's transition to a low carbon and climate resilient economy, considering our unique climate change vulnerability as a coastal state. I said this in the ESCO chamber with the help of the likes of ExxonMobil, that these days if you roof a house, give it 1 year, it will turn black, carbon. So what people do now, if you drive through our GRA here, every roof now is black, so that you won't know when there's a carbon on it or not. I don't know whether we are postponing the doomsday, but that's not the solution. I also hope the federal government will actually do something with the oil companies. How can we be flaring gas when we don't have electricity? It's something we need to think. Why? There is what we call gas to energy these days. You can just, collect from the furnace and then immediately you generate power out of it. How can we be in darkness? ExxonMobil people are looking at me. I didn't come because of you people. So don't worry. I'm just saying what is good for the country. So let me say here that the state is just trying to see how to, from low carbon to crime. We are trying to see, can we actually have a climate resilient economy, considering all those vulnerabilities that I mentioned. This summit will also enable the state to explore the abundant renewable energy resources and innovative technologies that would enable it to contribute to the goal of providing universal access to energy in Africa by the year 2025. I'm aware that Nigeria's intended nationally determined contribution, INDC blueprint, submitted as part of the negotiations leading to the Paris Agreement, aligns with the theme of this summit. Therefore, as a major oil producing state in this country, we desire to work with the federal government and other stakeholders in achieving the INDC targets, especially on ending gas flaring by 2030 and increasing energy efficiency in this country. Let me pause at this point in time so that I can register the appreciation of the state and the entire people of Akwa Ibom State, especially to World Bank and their support. I really appreciate the partnership, the love, and the collaboration. I just believe this is the beginning. I overheard them announcing $100 billion, and out of which Africa had access 4%. Believe me, if there is anything in terms of documentation, due process, structure, strategies, policies that is expected to be put in place, mark Akwa Ibom as number one that will meet all the parameters. So that instead of drawing only 4%, you can add 0 in front like the media people and give Akwa Ibom 40%. That's the kind of 0 I want to be added, so that we can actually access something much better. And also, let me thank the ADB. I'm sure the $12 billion on energy, please, I'll discuss with you, my brother. Once you mention money, my ear opens wider. So I'm going to come. There's something people don't know. Money is the only commodity on planet Earth that is being sought after by every human being, including a madman. So I can't run away from it. That's the only commodity being sought after by every human being on planet Earth. So in our efforts to turn waste to wealth, this administration has focused on recycling waste as an alternative means of removing useful products from the huge waste generated in the state. We have some proposals, and some of these things take time. Let me also appeal to the minds of our people. These things are not like purchase of finished goods in the market. That's one thing people don't know. People just expect immediately you announce something, next day they should see result. If you want that quick result on a quick something, note that that thing will also go away quickly. It's only commerce that you can just buy and people will see. If I'm to buy a finished car now, what you see there is car. You don't know how many raw materials and components in that car manufactured all over the world before it gets to what you call a car. You don't know how many, mining sites they've gone through, how many days and years of mining, refining those things to come into a car. But what people expect is to see a car. Sorry, if we do that, we won't achieve what we are saying in terms of green job creation. So, distinguished guests and participants, it is my interest, and here it may also interest you also with me to note that as part of our effort to reduce our carbon footprint, the bags used in this summit are all made from recyclable materials. We needed to start that, using that as an example. These materials help to promote local content development and ensure environmental sustainability. There are untapped resources and opportunities in the state, begging for it to be harnessed. A safe environment is a prerequisite, I keep saying so, to the success of all the investments that we are doing in this state. We therefore call on potential investors to take advantage of the peaceful and peace-loving environment of this state to invest. I invite development partners and investors to partner with the state government in our plan to establish the first clean technology and export processing hub in West Africa and the first low-carbon city in Akwa Ibom State. This is not just a dream. We've made efforts to actualize this. We don't have it anywhere. What we call the clean technology and export processing hub in West Africa, we don't have. Now we are making steps in the Ikorobasi water channel to actually establish this. We've already done the design. We are looking for partners and investors who are serious, who can bring in money. Unfortunately, it's not in those days that our state government used to be as buoyant based on the price of crude oil. But the good days will come back, and we can't fold our arms waiting for those days. We must make a move. I urge you to support the state to develop a strategic framework for management and investment in climate change mitigation and adaptation. Develop a strategy for the creation of clean and green jobs. These we are doing in all ramifications, through our keys, through women in agri, even so many other areas. Creating a roadmap for clean energy transformation, as well as the development of concrete projects that can be presented as COP22 in Morocco for implementation as part of the Paris Agreement. And the minister made a call that even the environment summit that is going to be hosted in Lafayette, that our ministry should be represented. I want him to be reassured that we've never been at the back of this at all since the beginning. My commissioner was one of those faces you saw in Paris, and I'm sure how much more in going to Lafayette that he can go by road. He will be there. He will be there. Let me, please permit me to thank the Honorable Minister for Environment again, Mrs. Amina Mohammed. I know she would have loved to be here, but she couldn't have been here, and the Minister of State here on a day of Federal Executive Council. And we couldn't have gotten a date that could suit everybody. This thing must be done on a particular date. So with that, I thank the Minister of State for actually creating time, accepting to miss Federal Executive Council today in order to honor this commitment. I thank that ministry for all the support, and I also want to remind the Minister of State, Mrs. Amina promised us some intervention because of the erosion problem that we are having, especially when she saw the one in Anua. She was moved. The one along Calabaiti Road, I've already used part of the state government money to fix it. So I'm sure the federal government will do something about it, because It was part of upkeep of government house that we use in fixing the road for federal government. I'm optimistic that at the end of this summit, this is one summit that won't just be like any other one. The communique in this summit, believe me, we'll use it to form a strategic framework as a state, and we'll extend whatsoever comes out of it to the federal government. If you study us very well, we don't go into conferences and seminars when we're not ready to make use of the result. So please help us have a framework, a roadmap on how to tackle climate change in our state in particular and our country in general, which would have been developed out of this summit. It is therefore on this note that I officially today declare open the first Akwa Ibom State Climate Change and Clean Energy Mega Summit and Expo, holding today in Akwa Ibom State Capital, the serene city of Uyo, in the name of God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I wish all participants fruitful deliberations and implore you to enjoy warm hospitality of this state. I hope in the evening I'll have opportunity of having dinner with all facilitators and all the people that are here, and I hope the minister will accord us his presence too. The way he's looking at weather, the plane might not fly because the weather is not so good. There's a climate change. You can't do climate change summit here and then the weather will allow you like any other day. The climate must change. So I really want to thank all of you. I appreciate this. Please, as I announced, I'm moving on to another assignment. It doesn't mean this is the end of this program. If we don't stay back to rub minds, we will not benefit much from this. We are not just doing this as one of those, conferences in Nigeria. We are doing it because we are serious, and we hope the time for this is now. We cannot postpone it. Assist us, stay back, participate, and I'm also happy I see almost all the commissioners. So I won't see so much file in my office this afternoon to treat. So I appreciate if all commissioners can stay back in this conference for another 3 days, so that we'll reduce the work volume for the governor until next week. I thank you all. I thank the women for participating. I thank the students. I thank all of us, all those that travel outside, from outside of this state to come down here. We love you all. We appreciate your being here. After all this brainstorming, we believe you take time out to go around the city and accord yourself that warm hospitality that is being noted in Akwa Ibom State. Let me also use this opportunity to thank our prof, former VC of OAU. I welcome him on behalf of all profs and all those, and our grandfather in this field. Prof, you're welcome, sir. Good to see you. Always energetic and strong. The speaker was trying to guess your age. I said the speaker would not be able to guess your age. If he wants to know your age, just come and ask me. But I won't tell him in the public. I've seen all of them, and I'm really, really grateful. The political class is also well represented. I thank you all. God bless you all.
Remarks on the official declaration of the summit opened by His Excellency, the Governor of Akwa Ibom State. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, please put your hands together for His Excellency, the Governor. The very first presentation that will be made after this opening ceremony is on configuration of sustainable development systems with coverage of climate change adaptation, state-level element, by Honorary Professor of the China University of Mining and Technology and Chairman Global Education and Infrastructure Services, Charlotte, North Carolina, United States of America, Professor Hilary I. Yang, NNOM. We please urge all of the people to sit back and listen to that particular lecture after the tea break, together with other ones that will be made by very erudite resource persons. We thank you very much for having come for this opening ceremony. And like His Excellency said, this is just the closing of the opening ceremony. The summit will also begin immediately His Excellency takes his leave to attend to other matters of state. On that note, may I please request Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, that all of us please rise one more time for the national anthem. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Please, brass band, hold it. Brass band, hold it, please. Thank you. Please hold it. His Excellency will please take his leave. The rest of us will please remain where we are so that we can actually take that. Thank you. There's going to be one group photograph in front here. Just one group photograph in front, and we can proceed for the tea break, and then we move from there. Thank you very much. Brass band, keep it low, please. Keep it low, please. Keep it low, please. Please, all of the people, all of the very distinguished resource persons, we want to please request that you come down and join His Excellency for the group photographs. There are people who should be part of the group photographs, and I'm sure they know themselves. Government House Protocol is also on hand. They will be actually coordinating that. Thank you very much. Gentlemen and ladies, if you are taller than somebody, kindly stand behind the person, please. Thank you. Control. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Kindly let His Excellency take his leave. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as soon as His Excellency has taken his leave, all the delegates and participants will proceed together with the resource persons for tea break, and that tea break is only going to last 15 minutes, please. 15 minutes after now, every single participant is expected to return to take their seats in this hall so that we can articulate these issues that have got to do with all of us almost on a day-to-day basis, please. Thank you. Resource persons are reminded to make their presentations available at the control station so that they can be put up on the PowerPoint screens. Thank you. This summit is being broadcast live. It's being streamed live on the Akwa Ibom State Government website, akwibomstate.gov.ng/live. And so there are quite a number of people who will be joining us, even if they are not here with us physically. Thank you very much.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to announce again that we're currently going through the tea break, which will last for 15 minutes, please. 15 minutes. Thank you very much. Tea break, 15 minutes. Thank you. I'd like to remind the resource persons to please proceed to the control unit and ensure that their presentations are handed over to the people over there so that it can be put on the PowerPoints, please. The resource persons would like you to proceed to the control units. They're actually waiting for you. The control unit, please. The control unit, I think it's on my right hand side. Resource persons, please proceed to the control unit and ensure that the people there have your presentation so that they can be able to broadcast it on the PowerPoint. Thank you very much. The control unit is on our right hand side from the podium, on our right hand side or left hand side from where you're sitting, please. Thank you very much for the cooperation. We're still on tea break. It's supposed to last for 15 minutes. We're well into the 15 minutes already. So we'd like you to please hasten it so that we can move on to other things. Thank you very much.